After 1 week since started in Dubai, the biggest world climate conference COP28 has now entered negotiations phase, which proves to be a tough and challenging task for delegates of nearly 200 countries. How optimistic is it for world leaders and business owners to agree on significantly reducing carbon emissions? Rahmat Idris in Dubai with updates on these negotiations.
Yeah, entering the 7th day or the first of the 2-week deliberations here at COP28 here in Dubai, we must say that each and every one of the delegates are entering through a phase called tough negotiations at the moment to reach the final agreements through the final draft of COP28, the Conference of the Parties 28 here in Dubai. And as we all know, this is notably the world's largest climate summit hosted by the UNFCCC or the United Nations Framework Conventions on Climate Change, and also supported by UNDRR, the United Nations Disaster Risk Reductions, which sees participations of nearly 200 countries, over 80,000 delegates, and over 100 top leaders from around the globe's CEOs of business are here in Dubai to deliberate. So why have they been entering the phase of tough negotiations at the moment? Well, there's this terminology that has been front and center in the past week here in Dubai at COP28, the so-called fossil fuel phase out. Now, back in a few years since the establishment of COP or Conference of the Parties, these two phrases have been making its way amidst all of these discussions. First is the phase down, which is the gradual decrease of the usage of fossil fuels. And then another one, a harsher one, a stronger one, is indeed the so-called the phase out of fossil fuel, meaning that it will be gradually stopping the use of fossil fuels. Well, these two phrases have always been long contested and disputed by different parties, especially for the stakeholders of big business industries representing fossil fuels. Those are producers of oils, gas, and coals. They are extremely keen to leave these phrases out of the final draft. So we are looking forward to see how the discussions, the negotiations are coming out in terms of putting these phrases into the final agreement. Because if we look back to how it was a couple of years back at COP26 in the United Kingdom in Glasgow, it was agreed, it was signed by hundreds of countries, the phrase of coals phase down, meaning that the use of coals in the coming years will be gradually decreased. However, the stronger one, the phase out of fossil fuels, is still a fact that remains to be seen whether or not the agreement on this can be achieved amongst all of these thousands of delegates representing different countries with different levels of economies, and also the stakeholders in the business of oils, gas, and coals. Now, why is the terminology of the so-called phase out of the fossil fuel is extremely important at this event? Well, it's been said by the climate scientists that 2023 not only has been dubbed as the hottest year ever on the planet, but also this year is set to mark yet another highest record of carbon emission ever, meaning that our planet is getting hotter and hotter. And here's the logic. All of these burnings of carbon or fuels will release carbon dioxide, carbons essentially, into the air, and they start clogging out our atmosphere. And all of the sunshine is unable to be released from the atmosphere. It is trapped within the atmosphere and essentially bakes the entire planet. And the global warming has induced the so-called climate change. And what has the climate change impacts been so far? Well, we see extreme drought all over the planet. We see floods all over the planet, and that has also caused landslides, that has caused massive forest fires around the globe. So this has caused major concerns to participating countries here at the Conference of Parties or COP28 here in Dubai. Right, now let's have a look at how important it is for these delegates to come up with the solutions in regards to the final draft of agreement from COP28. Well, to sort of dampen down all the hysteria, all the heated debates and discussions, the organizer of this event, the UNFCCC, has come up with a terminology of orderly and just phase out of fossil fuel. There is this one interesting remark there, the use of the word just, meaning that it has to be fair. It has to be fair for everyone that is assigned the responsibility to reduce the emission of carbons. So they've come out with 3 different ways, strategies, essentially, something that is currently still on the table to be discussed. One is the word just on the final agreement draft, meaning that the more wealthier, the richer nations should be able to phase out the fossil fuel faster than the less developed economies, like Indonesia, for example, or other developing countries around the globe. Countries that have been notably enriched by the use of oils in the past decades should transition to renewable energy faster than developing economies. So that's one for the word just. Another is to accelerate unabated fuel. Now, this is also an interesting concept and has been supported by the producers of oil, gas, and coals. Why? Because unabated fuels mean that they will capture the carbon, meaning that there will be no more carbons released into the atmosphere. They will be processed, they will be captured essentially, and be stored inside rocks or inside the hollows of gas mining. That's another interesting concept. But that also provides a way, or rather an excuse, for all of these industries of oil, gas, and coals to continue on producing as much fossil fuels as they can, meaning that there will be no slowdown to the carbon emission to the planet. Now, the third one, we don't know whether it's going to come out or not, but there will be no use of the words fossil fuel phase out at all in the final draft, meaning that it's probably be considered as a fail. There will be no commitment to reduce the use of fossil fuels, and we can only hope by a miracle to achieve the thresholds of 1.5 degrees Celsius of temperature increase for our planet in order to keep it cool and essentially to keep things alive here on the planet. Well, we're just going to see how it's going to roll out. There's still another week coming up for COP28 here in Dubai, all the way to the 12th of December 2023. From Expo City, Dubai, Rahmat Idris and my camera person, Andang Wicaksono reported for TVRI World.